everyone, Mitch coming in from the Command Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes you courtesy of my incredible patrons. Once a month, they vote on what commander they want to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets the most votes wins. And the commander for this month is Indoraptor, the perfect hybrid. And this is the perfect commander for a strategy that I absolutely love implementing when it works and when I can. Here we go, a 3/1 dinosaur mutant for 3 mana in Jund. Bloodthirst X, which means when it enters the battlefield, it's going to enter with X counters on it, where X is the damage dealt to your opponents this turn. Very specific, but that can be quite a lot, and we'll talk about ways to take advantage of that. Menace, so great, we can get through in combat in certain ways. And on top of that, Enrage, whenever it's dealt damage, choose an opponent at random. It deals damage equal to its power to that player unless they sacrifice a non-token creature. So there's a lot going on here. Basically, we're going to be having some, hey, opponents, take some damage in different ways effects. We're going to be having some, oh yeah, let's enter the battlefield maybe more than once with this bad guy. And then also, hey, you know what? Let's enrage it. Let's make sure that it gets hit in different ways. And with my favorite way to do that, fighting. That's right, we're going to be fighting a ton with this, taking out our opponent's creatures with that, and of course, when they have no more options, taking some massive damage to the face. And then even more. And then even more. So with all that said, well, we are going to be jumping into the tactics and showing how this deck works and how we're going to win with it. So, tactic number 1, we are going to be burninating a lot of things with Earthquake. Earthquake is a great board wipe for this deck, as well as just like a miscellaneous pinger if we need it. Source for X in a red. It deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. So, this benefits us in many ways. First of all, we haven't gotten our commander out yet. We can put a couple of mana into that X to just burninate our opponent's faces. Ours too, but that's okay. To make sure they're dealt some damage so that Bloodthirst can really get a lot of counters on it. We can also wipe creatures out with this, which again, our opponents not having any non-token creatures to sacrifice can be great. And of course, if our commander is out, Enrage. Next up, Spear, a repeat effect that we can just say, oh, okay, tap, ping everyone for 1. That's 3 damage to our opponents, which means our commander is going to be getting 3 extra counters on that ETB. Cindervine, some removal for us, as well as damage. When our opponent casts a non-creature spell, 1 damage to them. If they're doing that during our turn, you shouldn't be doing that. So take some extra damage for that with our commander coming to play with more counters. Also, though, pay 1 sacrifice for an artifact or enchantment. You're going to take the damage anyways. Basically, a shock to the face for an opponent. Delete, though, yet another kind of Earthquake-type card. Source for X, red. X damage each non-artifact creature and each player. Then there's Fiend Lash. We've got an equipment for 2 mana, +2/+0, and reach for the equipped creature. But most importantly, whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. Yeah, it kind of basically doubles up our commander's effect, but also in a way says, you know what, let's just get around the whole you can choose to sacrifice things because there is no option here. You're just taking that. So yeah, any of our ping effects, any of our fight effects can really take advantage of this. Flame Rift, though, a source for 2 mana and red, 4 damage to each player. Yeah, we're hitting ourselves with this, but that's fine. Of course, we got some ways to get that back anyways, and yeah, that is 12 counters for our commander when it ETBs. Thank you, opponents taking damage. Next up, Thermo Alchemist. Tap 1 damage each opponent, but also when we're casting against their sorcery, untap this, and believe me, we've got plenty of instant sorceries to cast to untap this quite a bit. Then there's Gutter Snipe. Speaking of instant sorceries, 2 damage each opponent when we're casting one of those. That's going to be a lot of damage. Again, basically 6 damage in total with just casting 1. Going to be a lot of counters on our commander. Fire Climb Influence, very flexible. Basically 1 damage to each creature, or 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy an artifact, or yeah, you can choose the same amount more once because you get to choose 3 of those. A lot of value to be had. And finally, Tectonic Giant. When it attacks, here comes the target of a spell an opponent controls. Don't do that, opponents. 3 damage each opponent, so again, that's 9 in total. Or exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them until the end of your next turn, play that card. So yeah, temporary card advantage or damage. It's not to love about that. Moving on, we've got Mayhem Devil, which is a fun little combo-ish for this kind of a commander because it's a 3/3 Devil for 3 mana in Rakdos. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. Again, by our commander hitting a opponent, or, not hitting them if they're going to be sacrificing a non-token creature. Hey, okay, you did that? All right, oh, you sacrificed a permanent? All right, let me just ping my commander again, enraged again. Do it again, and again, and again, just choosing different opponents. Yeah, this can get quite amazing and obnoxious, and just, yeah, sacrificing throughout the game, that's going to be happening. Even just a player like ourselves or an opponent, sacrificing a land like an Evolving Wilds, that's going to trigger, and we force a rage with this. Then there's Plague Spitter, a 2/2 that says, beginning of your upkeep, 1 damage to each creature and each player. Again, just having that base level of damage on each player, each opponent, is huge for our commander's Bloodthirst. On top of that, though, of course, enrage triggers, yes. And when this dies, 1 extra damage to each creature and each player. Then there's Pestilence. My goodness, an amazing card in this deck. Enchantment for 4 mana, pay a single black mana, 1 damage to each creature and each player, and all of a sudden, that can add up a ton. This is kind of like a board wipe on a card, as well as also repeat damage, repeat, and rage. Yeah, what's not to love about this? But if there are no creatures in play, we gotta sacrifice it, but that's okay. Next up, Fight at 1. Yeah, we're going to be fighting a lot. And 1 is, a good amount of mana to spend on fighting. Just spend 1. There you go, do it. We got Blizzard Brawl, pay single green mana, basically fight. Nice, and also if you got 3 snow permanents, indestructible too. Then we got Bushwhack. We can actually go get a basic land into our hand if we need to, so early on this can be a great way to, fix our mana, or just, hey, fight. Yeah, that's what we're going to do most of the time. Longstalk Brawl. We can give someone a fish. Again, that is a token creature, so keep that in mind. That's fine for our commander for the most part. But also, hey, if we do that, we get a counter on that creature, and then all of a sudden, we can have it fight. Why not? Let's do it. Then we've got Malamet Battle Glyph. Choose a creature you don't control, target creature you do control. If the creature you control enter the battlefield this turn, you get an extra counter on it. So again, if you get our commander out, then we say, hey, oh, you're brand new here? Great, all right. Get to fighting right now. Mutant Spray, though. Target creature control, they counter on it, fight star creature, and opponent controls. Our commander is going to be having a lot of counters. Plow Through. We can either destroy a vehicle, which, can come in handy, but more likely, hey, we might just destroy that vehicle by fighting it anyways, if it is a creature in that turn. Most likely just fighting a regular creature. Prey Upon. Just simple, very effective. Target creature control, fight star creature you don't control. Again, fighting is amazing for this commander because we actually want it to take the damage. That enrage can be massive. Primal Might. Speaking of massive, target creature control gets +X until I have turn, then it fights up to 1 creature you don't control. At the very least, we can just pay 0 into that X, so it's a 1 mana spell for us, which is amazing. Or if we do want to pump it up a little bit, we most definitely can, or a lot of it, and we definitely can too. Tail Swipe, though, creature you don't control, target creature you don't control, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know what? If we're casting during your main phase, we get an extra +1, a little extra pump for us too, and yeah, guess you're gotta fight. It's instant speed though if we actually need to, which can be quite great. Titanic Brawl, another great one as well. You might think it costs 2, but actually it costs 1 for us because we're gonna be casting it, targeting a creature with a counter on it, our commander, and we're gonna have that fight. Then finally, Savage Stomp. Targets a dinosaur, so it costs 2 less, no longer costing 3, it just costs 1, counter on it, and fight as well. Now you might be thinking that we've got to be done with fighting, but we're not done fighting just yet, because we're also fighting at 2 as well, not just 1. So Ancient Animus at 2 mana, counter on a creature. If it's legendary, which our commander is, then we're going to have it fight. Arnie Slays the Troll, a lot going on here. This is a saga. The first lore counter, target creature control, fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. The second one, at a red, 2 counters up to 1 target creature you control. And the third one, gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Yeah, so this is a lot of value to be had and a lot of life to be gained for us. Boxing Ring, though, whenever a creature enters the battlefield you control, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control, the same mana value. Our opponent's 3 mana creatures better look out because our commander is going to be coming into play quite a bit in fighting a lot. On top of that, tap, create treasure token if we fought and won, basically. Ents Fury, put a counter on target creature control, its power is 4 or greater, then it gets +1 until end of turn and fights creature you don't control, which is going to happen quite a bit, so it's an extra 2 power for us. Inscription of Abundance, we're going to be kicking this one a good amount of time, or just fighting with it. Anyways, choose 1 if it was kicked, though, choose any number instead, 2 counters on it. Target player gains X life for X various power among creatures they control, so again, more life gain for us. Most importantly, though, fight. 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 Speaking of fighting, pit fight. Very simple, very effective. Fight a creature. Cool. Do it. Prize fight. Fight a creature at 2 mana as well, but we get 1 of that mana back by making a treasure. And finally, Smell Fear. Proliferate, so get an extra counter on whatever we have counters on, including our commander. And then also, of course, yes, you guessed it, fight. Now, with all of this fighting, though, in our next tactic, we're going to talk about getting back up because, yeah, our commander is going to get taken out. In fact, intentionally sometimes. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get right back up with these feign death type effects like Not Dead After All. Until end of turn, target creature gains. Well, when it dies, bring it back. And also gets a Wicked Roll attached to it, which is quite nice. But most importantly, yeah, it just comes right back so that ETB hits again. And again, there are definitely going to be times where we've actually put out more damage because of all that fighting, because of all that damage to random opponents, and being able to then, oh yeah, our commander got taken out. That's actually a good thing. Come right back into play with even more counters on you and fight some more. Why not? Supernatural stamina, though. Yeah, this one's quite great as well. Again, basically, all these kind of do the exact same thing. I'll talk about the little changes in them, but basically, die creature, come back. Cool, yes. +2/+0 is the only difference there. Undying Malice comes back with a counter on it instead. Abnormal Endurance, +2/+0. Demonic Gifts, +2/+0. Fake Your Own Death, +2/+0. And a treasure token, yay! Infused Vitality, no +2/+0 there, but we gain 2 life. That's nice as well. And speaking of life gain, return to action. Till end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0, lifelink, and the whole Feign Death thing as well. And again, lifelink, we talked about how, yeah, there's some ways that we're going to be losing life, to our own things, getting damage, but we got plenty of ways to gain life, and our commander is going to have a ton of power, so gain that back. Speaking of a ton of power, let's move on to our next tactic. Pump it up. First up, Corpsejack Menace, a 4/4 fungus for 4 mana. If one or more counters we put on a permanent you control, creature you control, I should say, yeah, twice that many are put on instead. So this is absolutely incredible for this commander because, hey, you know what is great about Bloodthirst X? Well, Bloodthirst X basically ×2 for us. Being able to get double that amount of counters, we can really go crazy with this, especially once we get those fighting Feign Death effects working together. Yeah, then get spicy. Speaking of spicy, though, let's just skip everything, essentially, to say, hey, you know what, Commander? You're pretty massive already. Raised by Giants. Commander creatures you own have base power and toughness 10/10 or Giants of other types. Yeah, our commander's already going to be super scary, being a 10/10 with Menace, and also that whole Enrage thing, but now also, once it's got the Bloodthirst too, and getting all those counters, it can very easily become, well, at the least a 2-shot KO, but of course a 1-shot KO as well, and of course, yeah, just like a Enrage KO very easily as well. It's a lot of fun. Next up, speaking of fun, even our card advantage can help punish our opponents and benefit us. Grab the prize. Discard 1 card, draw 2. If the discard card wasn't a land, hey, opponents, take 2 to the face each. That's 6 counters for our commander. Hunter's Insight, though, can take advantage of our commander once it's absolutely large. Choose our creature control whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn. Draw that many cards. Surprise, 3 mana, draw a ton of cards. What's not to love about that? Not so much of a surprise at 3 mana, though. Mask of Grizzlebrand, equipment for 3. Flying and lifelink, yeah, it's going to get through on opponents with that, and again, gain a lot of life. On top of that, when our commander dies, which again it will, hey, you can pay X life to draw based on its power, which is a ton of cards to be had. Painful Truce, basically 3 mana, lose 3 life, draw 3 cards. Different colored mana, I should say. Snake Umbra, next up. This is a good way to protect our commander with totem armor, but also on top of that, +1/+1, and whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Keep in mind, it does not say combat damage, so yes, our commander's trigger does apply there. Disciple Bolus, yet another way to sacrifice our commander, which again can benefit us. Again, if we've already dealt a lot of damage to our opponents that turn and we can get even more counters on it, why not? And on top of that, sacrifice that creature, gain X life, draw X cards. You can gain a ton of value off of this. Invasion of Kaldheim, speaking of value, enters the battlefield, exile all the cards in your hand, draw that many cards. You can still use those cards until your next turn, which is nice, the exiled ones. That being said, once you flip this over, discard a land, ping anything for 2, and whenever you discard a land, exile a top card your life, play that card this turn. A lot of value to be had here. Again, you can ping opponents' faces if you need to for that Bloodthirst. You can ping down creatures if you want to make it so they don't have any, non-token creatures to sacrifice. Or you can just ping your commander if you need that Enrage as well. Next up, Mob Verdict helps out in a lot of ways. Everyone secretly votes for another player. Then those votes are revealed. For each vote an opponent received, they take 2 damage to the face. And also their creatures take 2 damage to the face. Or if you get the votes, you draw a card for each vote. Lovely. Shadowheart, Dark Just Scar, repeat, sacrifice, draw. 1 to black tap, sacrifice a creature, draw X cards, or X that creature's power, which again can be massive. Speaking of that, Grothama, All Devouring. This is quite hilarious. A 10/8 worm for 5 mana. Other creatures have, when this creature attacks, you may have it fight Grothama, All Devouring. So again, our commander, likes to fight, and also can be much larger than this even. When Grothama leaves the battlefield, each player draws cards equal to the amount of exit damage dealt to Grothama this turn by sources they controlled. It's going to be us dealing the damage, and we're going to be gaining a lot of card advantage off of it, and also this is just a big threat for us as well. Next tactic, though, let's start at the beginning with, first up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. We're going to be ramping it up with this. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice, get a basic land, in play tap, and amazing turn 1 play. Next up, we've got Rampant Growth, the OG ramp spell, basically 2 mana, go get a land. Fertile Ground, enchant any of your lands, it taps for an extra mana of any color. Broken Bond, destroy something, artifact or enchantment, get an extra land into play from your hand. Sakura Tribe Elder, Steve! Sorry, Steve, you're not long for this world. Sacrifice it to basically Rampant Growth. Zertra Druid, this can be a very good card for you, basically a dork that taps for a single green mana, but also it pings each opponent for 1. So again, 3 extra counters for our commander. Grow from the Ashes, very flexible. If you don't kick it, cool, you get 1 basic and play untapped. If you do kick it for an extra 2, you get 2 and untapped instead. Speaking of which, Harrow, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics in play, untapped at instant speed. Ranging Raptors, absolutely amazing in Rage. And again, we've got so many ways to activate this. Whenever it's dealt damage, go ramp. Get a basic land into play, tapped. And finally, Search for Tomorrow, very great turn 1 spell as well. Suspend 2 for a single green mana, get a basic into play, untapped. Finally, though, let's talk about some great lands. First up, there's Spikefield Hazard, a great MDFC. On the backside, just enters the battlefield, taps for a red, but most importantly, the front side, 1 damage to any target. Pay permanent damage up this way, we exiled, sure, yeah, worry about that later, but don't take your commander on that way, but just ping it for 1, and there you go, you activate the Enrage effect. Also, speaking of which, Colony Ambush, yet another great MDFC. This one taps for a green. That being said, it's a fight spell. Again, you thought we were done with fight spell, and we're not done with fight spells. We've got so many fight spells. All we're going to be doing is fighting, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on this one. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.